Let's start with a hard truth. The greatest strategic failure in the subscription business is something called exit blindness. It's this belief that once a customer hits the cancel button, they're gone. But that ignores a fundamental neurological fact. The moment of exit is your highest leverage point for retention. For any of us running a business that relies on subscribers, that cancel button, it feels like a failure, right? But what if we've been looking at it completely backwards? What if that click isn't an ending, but an invitation to have a much smarter conversation? Today, we're going to deconstruct that exact moment and rebuild it, turning what feels like a rejection into your single most powerful tool for keeping customers.
So let's put a name to this. Exit blindness. It's this deep-seated assumption that when someone clicks cancel, the story's over, door closed. But that's a massive strategic error. That exact moment, when they are actively thinking about your service, weighing its value, is your absolute best chance to keep them. We see the action, the click, but we're completely misreading the intent behind it. We're blind to the real reason they're even at the exit door to begin with.
So I want you to consider a pretty radical question. What if that cancel button wasn't the enemy? What if it was actually your most powerful, most effective tool for keeping a customer, for actually building a stronger relationship with them? That's the puzzle we are going to solve together today. We are going to flip the script and turn this symbol of churn into a strategic asset.
And here's our roadmap. First, we're going to define the problem, the great exit blindness. Then we'll unpack the surprising cancellation paradox that creates this huge opportunity. After that, we'll dive right into the solution, a blueprint I call the strategic pivot architecture. We'll look at the human psychology that makes this whole thing tick, and then most importantly, we'll lay out the practical steps to put it into action, effectively building you a brand new engine for retention.
Okay, let's dive in with the big universal problem. This is the great exit blindness, and it's built right into a flawed system that almost every single subscription company uses by default. It's called the passive exit.
Now, to really get this, you have to understand the world your customers are living in. We are all dealing with subscription fatigue. Seriously, we're drowning in monthly payments. So when your customers cancel, it is often not because they hate your product. It's because they are just looking for relief. Relief from cost, relief from digital clutter, relief from just the mental load of managing everything. This distinction is everything. They don't want to break up with you, they just need a break.
And how do most of us respond to this cry for relief? With a passive exit. You know exactly what this looks like. User clicks cancel, you get a generic, half-hearted "are you sure?" User clicks yes, and poof, they're gone. That revenue is gone. This isn't just a bad user experience, it's basically structural negligence. You're treating a complex, emotional decision like it's a simple yes or no question.
So let's just put it side by side. The old way, the passive exit, it's a dead end. It forces a customer into this all or nothing choice. Either keep paying for something that isn't quite right for them right now, or leave completely. And faced with that choice, an overwhelmed brain is almost always going to choose the exit. But the new way, the strategic pivot, it introduces a crucial third path, a way for them to get the relief they need without walking out the door for good.
And this brings us to the core idea that completely reframes this entire problem, the cancellation paradox. This is where we flip the script on what a cancellation attempt actually means. And here's the paradox. The very moment a customer decides to leave is your single best chance to convince them to stay. Now why? How can that be true? It's because in that moment you have something incredibly rare in today's world, their complete undivided attention. They're actively engaged, they're thinking about your product's value, and they are literally telling you, hey, something is wrong. They are open to a better solution if you can just give them one.
This is the key psychological insight you have to burn into your brain. They are not looking for an exit from your brand. They are looking for relief from a specific problem. Maybe the price feels a little steep this month. Maybe they're just too busy to use the service. If you can provide that relief without forcing a full cancellation, you don't just save a customer, you earn their trust and loyalty because you actually listened.
Okay, so if the passive exit is the disease, what's the cure? It's a framework called the strategic pivot architecture. Now, this isn't guesswork. It's a carefully engineered system. Let's walk through the blueprint. The architecture has 3 core tiers. Think of it as a 3-step intercept plan. First, diagnosis. You have to find out exactly why they're leaving. Second, the custom pivot. You offer a personalized alternative to just leaving. And third, the loss aversion wall. You gently, but very firmly, remind them of everything they're about to give up. So, let's break each of these down. Tier 1 is all about diagnosis. You can't solve a problem you don't understand.
So the very first thing the system does is it stops the user from just mindlessly clicking confirm. Instead, you require them to tell you what's wrong. They have to select a specific reason for leaving from a list. And this isn't just for your quarterly report. That choice becomes a diagnostic trigger that changes the entire conversation that follows. You stop guessing and you start responding.
And here's how that trigger works. It's actually pretty simple. If a user selects the price is too high, boom, that triggers a financial pivot. The system now knows to offer a solution related to cost, like a temporary discount or a downsell to a cheaper plan. But if they select I'm not using it enough, that triggers a totally different path, an activity pivot. See, a discount is useless here. The perfect offer is to pause their subscription for a few months. Every reason is mapped to a specific, relevant offer.
This leads us right into Tier 2, the custom pivot. Based on their diagnosis, you don't ask the useless, "Are you sure?" question. Instead, you offer them a personalized third way. And the most powerful weapon in your arsenal here is the pause option. It's an absolutely genius move because it gives the user the exact relief they want, stopping the payments without the finality of deleting their account and losing all their history. It is the perfect tactical compromise.
And if they decline your amazing pivot offer, well, now you deploy the final and most psychologically powerful tier, the loss aversion wall. This happens right before that final irreversible click. You don't beg them to stay. Instead, you simply show them what they've built with you. The system presents their endowment data, a simple, clear summary of the specific value they have personally accumulated inside your product.
And this data has to be tangible. It has to be personal. We're not talking about generic marketing fluff here. We are talking about showing them, right on the screen, you will lose your 500 saved contacts. You will forfeit your gold status membership. You will permanently lose your 25% legacy discount. This immediately shifts the brain's calculation from what they might gain by leaving to the very real, very painful loss of things they already feel like they own.
So the big question, does this whole thing actually work? Well, the data is just undeniable. The old passive exit model, you're lucky if you save 5% of your customers. Most get maybe 2%. But a well-implemented strategic pivot architecture, it consistently saves between 15 and 30% of customers who were already heading out the door. That's not a small tweak. That's a game changer.
Just let that number sink in. 15 to 30%. This is not a minor optimization. This is turning your biggest point of failure into one of your most effective growth engines. It proves that a huge chunk of your canceling customers don't actually want to leave. They just need a better option than a final, abrupt goodbye. This is the difference between a leaky bucket business and a resilient one.
So we've seen the what, the architecture itself. But to really master this, we have to understand the why. This framework is so powerful because it doesn't try to fight human nature. It taps into some really fundamental, predictable quirks of how our brains are wired.
The main engine driving this whole thing is a concept called loss aversion. It's a simple idea with huge effects. For our brains, the pain of losing something feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining the exact same thing. Think about it. How bad does it feel to lose a $20 bill from your pocket? Way worse than the quiet satisfaction of finding a $20 bill on the street, right? The loss aversion wall is engineered specifically to trigger that powerful feeling of pain, making cancellation feel like a real, tangible, personal loss.
And working right alongside loss aversion is something called the endowment effect. This is our natural human tendency to place a higher value on things simply because we own them. That gold status might not have a real cash value, but to the user who earned it, it feels incredibly valuable. Their saved data, their projects, their history, it's theirs. The endowment effect is what makes the threat of loss so powerful. It's not just some data, it's my data.
And finally, there's the reciprocity principle. When you proactively offer something helpful first, like a pause or a discount, it creates this subtle social pressure. As humans, we're just wired to feel a natural pull to return a favor. By making a kind offer, your business makes the act of leaving feel just a little bit rude and makes accepting your helpful alternative feel like the fair, right thing to do.
All right, we've covered the theory. We've covered the psychology. Now let's get practical. How do you actually build this thing? This section is your action plan for mastering the Intercept framework.
The path to mastery really comes down to 3 concrete steps. First, you have to map every possible cancellation reason to a specific, compelling save offer. Literally get in a room and whiteboard it out. Second, you absolutely positively must build a pause option into your system. It is your most important pressure release valve. And third, you have to weaponize your data to show users the specific, personal value they're about to throw away. Surface that endowment data at the critical moment.
So how do you know when you've done it right? You measure it. Mastery is not a feeling. It's a hard number. When your save rate, that's the percentage of people who start to cancel but you successfully keep, consistently hits 20% or higher, you've done it. You have successfully built a real retention engine. That is your new North Star metric.
So let's bring it all home. When you finally move from a passive exit to a strategic pivot, the result is a profound transformation of your business. You stop being a leaky bucket, constantly scrambling to pour new customers in the top, and you become a resilient, adaptive business that learns from its users in real time.
If you walk away with one thing, let it be this. A customer who clicks cancel is often just a customer who hasn't found the right tier or the right engagement level for what they need right now. The cancellation attempt isn't a final rejection, it's a signal that there's a mismatch. Your job isn't to just let them go. Your job is to fix the mismatch.
And this is why this whole system works so beautifully. In the world of subscriptions, no is almost never a final answer. It's usually a not right now, or not for this price, or not while I'm this busy. The strategic pivot architecture is designed to hear that unspoken message. It gives you the options and the flexibility to turn that not like this into a yes that works for everyone.
So ultimately, I want you to remember this. The best marketing, the best product design, it doesn't just push people through a funnel. It constantly, relentlessly pulls them toward value. And with this framework, you can continue to pull them toward value even and especially when they're trying to walk out the door.